This is the fatherhood experience. Turn it up, cause tonight you'll learn how to leave behind the average dad life. This the fatherhood experience. It's time to lead my family and become the father figure I deserve to be. The fatherhood experience.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fatherhood Experience, where we help men leave the average dad life behind and become the ultimate role model their families deserve and the most elite version of themselves. We are your hosts, Jason Priest and Zach Smith, and we have an exciting episode for you guys today. It's going to make you think a little bit today. Might punch you in the gut a little bit. But before we dive in, I want to give a huge shout out to all of our listeners who keep showing up each and every week, and specifically those of you who share the show. Our mission is to make the largest impact we possibly can in the male obesity epidemic in our country. And that means becoming the ultimate leader in your life and rising above average. And so with that being said, any of you guys who share the show, we love you guys, man. We just appreciate you spreading our message and getting this show into the ears of more dads who could potentially change their lives and become the ultimate role model for their families. So today, we're talking about fat kids. And when I say fat kids, I mean childhood obesity. It is a very chronic issue in our country. And Zach and I are going to break that down for you, man. Zach, I'm excited about this episode, but it also makes me sad because I did read a stat the other day that said 40% of children are obese before they reach high school. That really punched me in the gut when I heard that, man, because you know how I feel about being overweight, and I know how you feel about being overweight because we've both been there. And I have been in a situation where I was made fun of. I was fat shamed by my own friends, and I wasn't a kid when it happened. And so I can't imagine being a kid, being obese, and having to take that external pressure and those external remarks and comments that you get from how mean kids can be in high school these days. And so I think this is a topic that you and I both have a lot of insight to share. So where do you want to start, man? That's the stat that I read. And I'm telling you that the more that I see, the more that I believe it. And it might even be higher than that. So where do you want to start?
Man. We'll start with the stats, man. Like you talked about how 40% of kids before the age of what you said, 17, 18.
It's before they reach high school, dude. So
before they reach high school. Holy crap.
They're reaching high school as freshmen. So what is that? Like you're probably 13, 14 when you reach high school?
They're 13 years old.
Yeah, depending on what grade you're.
So before you're even a teenager, dude.
Yeah. So
you're hitting obesity. Jesus.
Yeah, before you even reach high school. And when you get to that point, dude, a lot of those habits are already set, and it's your chances of turning that around become increasingly less as you get older and older, as we've talked about before on the show. And so that's really what I want to unpack today, because I know there's a lot of guys listening, dude, who have obese kids.
Dude, before you even continue, dude, so sorry, I'm gonna cut you off here, but this reminds me of somebody who I went to high school with, right? It was a friend of mine I went to high school with, and she's been big her whole life. And I'm talking about big, okay? Mm-hmm. I'm not talking about like chubby. We're talking about big. And she reached out to me because she wanted some help. And this was about maybe a year ago now at this time or so. And Get this, man. So I'm about 33. She's the same class as me. So she's about 33 herself. What's crazy now, she said one day they went to the doctor, right? They went to the doctor and she was maybe 6, 7, 8 years old. I forgot exactly what age she said that she was, but she said that she overheard the doctor and her mom talking about, oh, it's just baby fat. It will go off as she grows up. That's what she said.
Hell to the
That's
no.
what the doctor said. And get this, dude, get this.
How old was she when this happened?
She was about 6, 7, 8 years old. I forgot exactly what she said, but she was a child.
That's a memory that stood out in her mind then, obviously.
100%. Wow. Because the only reason why I know this is because when I talked to her, she was telling me how she thought her entire life it would just magically fall off when she, quote unquote, grew up. She's forward.
33.
She's 32, 33 now. So she was under the impression it would fall off because the doctor said it's just baby fat and it will come off. That's not the way it works, though, right? It's not the way it works. It's kind of crazy, man. So you talked about the stat, how, kids are going to be obese, 40% of them before they even hit 13. Now let's refer to some stats that the CDC threw out about obesity in children, CDC, right? And as you know,
the credible CDC.
That's exactly what I was going to say. And you and I both know the CDC has been a little bit sketchy lately in regards to their skewed data and
what three-letter government
weird guidelines, but we won't get into all that, man. But the stats as of right now, man, and I'm just going to read a few of them, dude. For children and adolescents aged 12 to 19 years from 2017 to 2020, this is the most updated stat so far, the prevalence of obesity was 19.7% and affected about 14.7 million children and adolescents. So about 1 in every 5 kid is obese. That's a lot. That's a lot. It says obesity prevalence was 12.7 among 2 to 5 years old, 20.7% among 6 to 11 years old, 22.2% among 12 to 19 years old. So it's saying, and then it starts talking about how it's more common among different populations. That's irrelevant, dude. The reality is if you're an American kid and you're fat, you're just a fat American kid. I don't care what color you are, right? Funny thing though, like I am looking at the stats and it's talking about how among Hispanic children, among non-Hispanic Black children, non-Hispanic Asian children. My question is, what the hell, first of all, Jason, is a non-Hispanic Asian child? Because if you're an Asian child, aren't you not? That's kind of,
I don't know where they get this shit,
completely irrelevant. But what the hell is a
slicing and dicing
Black
cultures?
Kid?
Like no big deal here. It's not okay.
What's a non-Hispanic white kid, Jason? Educate me, dude.
A non-Hispanic white kid is.
I don't know what that is. First of all,
it didn't need the title of non-Hispanic.
I think it could have just said Asian kid or Black kid, white kid, and Hispanic kid. I don't know why it has to specify that I'm a non-Hispanic. But anyways, the point is, dude, 1 in 5 kids is overweight. Do you care to share your opinion as to why that is the case?
100%. Before I get into that, here's the thing, man. And like, well, first of all, going back to what you said about the doctor visit for this individual that you have in your life, the 33-year-old lady. I came across a meme actually yesterday, which had no bearing on this podcast episode, but I pulled it up on my phone while you were reading off those stats. And the meme, the top picture is a doctor in a white coat and a stethoscope around the neck. Next to her is I guess quote unquote the patient. Now the patient doesn't look obese in the picture, but it's just a lady where she's got her her head down on her hand. Okay. And the top part of the meme says, the doctor is saying, you have a disease caused by lifestyle, right? So obesity, diabetes, metabolic syndrome, whatever the disease they're calling it, right? And the lady's quote is, or the lady's thought back to the doctor is, should I change my lifestyle? Question. Okay. That's the top part of the meme. At the bottom, same exact picture with the doctor telling the patient, not at all. Here is a pill, right? This meme screams America, or maybe not America. Maybe it's just America, right? That meme is us, right? We've gotten to a place where there is no lifestyle promotion. There is no wellness promotion. We've gotten to a place now where it's slap a medication on because that person now is under our control and lining our pockets with financial riches, right? You're now a victim of big pharma. Now you get to be on your cholesterol medication, your blood pressure medication, because it will fix you. You don't need to make any changes because we don't want you to go away. We want you to remain a patient. We don't want you to get healthy, right? It's like this very skewed way. And so it's the ultimate responsibility of parents to make sure their kid doesn't fall into this meme category, right? And so to answer your question, yes, I'll give my opinion. But before I do, I want to tell you a little story about this. I went to school this morning to take my son, and this did give me some inspiration for this show because I'd heard that stat a couple of days ago, and I saw somebody talking about it. One of the good accounts that I follow on Twitter. By the way, I know we've talked about this on I don't know if it's a couple episodes ago about cleaning up your social media and making it work for you instead of being a negative pull down for you, if you will, for lack of a better term, just holding you back in life. And man, I'll tell you, the good side of Twitter is a great side of Twitter. I've been learning, I've been inspired, I've been putting good shit in my mind on a daily basis. I'm like, this is what social media is supposed to look like, man. It's serving me. It's not hindering me anymore.
Only if you allow it. Only if you train the algorithm in that way, though, right?
Exactly. And so with that said, this guy posted the stat. And he's like, man, I just read something that was really, really sad. And he elaborated it on a little bit. I did a little bit of research on his tweet and like some of the stuff he cited. And it was gut wrenching to me, because if 40% of kids are overweight or obese before they get to high school, then what does that say about our future generations? Because you and I have talked long about how once these habits are formed, how much increasingly harder and harder it gets to change these as you grow old, right? So I'm walking my son to school. My son is 7. He is a rather tall individual for his age. My wife has a lot of height on her side of the family. Shit, I'm right under 5'11". We'll call it 5'10" and a half, if you will. And she's got giants. Like there's some dudes on her side that are like 6'6", 6'7". So I think my son's going to be taller than me before I know it. He will never kick my ass, by the way. I will always have the upper hand on him. But
hey man, hold on. I gotta throw that in there too, man. Look, Ace, my kid is he's like my greatest creation ball, so my arch nemesis, right? I will give him every and all tools and knowledge in order to surpass me. But the thing is, I'll never allow it.
No.
So no, I'm glad you said that, because here's the deal. I want him to be better than me, but I'll never let it happen, because I'm just gonna work that much harder. I'm on the same same wavelength, man.
but that competitive drive, dude, is what being a dad is all about. Like, do you understand like how many obese dads out there who couldn't give a shit less? They want their kid to do good, but they're not leading by example. They're not showing them what greatness looks like. They're not showing them how to go out and pursue their dreams, pursue better health, pursue better relationships, pursue better finances, right? We got a lot of guys listening to the show right now that might be really, really well off in the pockets. They're not well off in the mind. They're not well off in the heart, because their health sucks and their relationships suck. And all because they put so much toward the career, right? If you're listening right now and you're working your ass off trying to provide, a father is much more than just a provider, guys. And you guys got to realize that, man. Like, your role as a father is far beyond just providing. And we'll get back. Well, I'll circle back to that in a second. But I want to continue the story. So I'm walking my kid. By the way, I'm extremely grateful to be able to walk my son to school. One of our things about moving to this neighborhood was we moved into this neighborhood to be close to my sister-in-law. They lived here for 2 years, and then they moved, right? They moved to San Antonio, which is where we're obviously trying to head ourselves. But we've lived here for 8. So 6 years have been with no sister-in-law, no cousins, nobody close. But my son is in 2nd grade now. So for the last 2 years, I've been able to walk him to school. And I'd say it's probably about a 7-minute walk or 8-minute walk to get there. And so it's nice. I get to have a little fresh air in the morning. I get out, get some sunlight, show him what it's like. Hey, dude, we're not going to drive. We can walk, right? This is leading by example. This is showing him, dude, we don't drive when we can walk. Like, why would I do that? And so anyway, we get to school. And I've seen this family before, but the way that my son's school is set up is like there's a parent area where there's like a little sign in the front lawn of the school saying, like, parents here, don't go past. They don't want parents crowding the door. They don't want parents anywhere near the door. It's a safety thing, right? And so I wait by my little parent sign. And when I drop my son off, that's where I always wait, so that I can watch him walk into the building, make sure he's safe before I turn around and go back home. So I'm standing there watching my son walk into the school. And I've seen this family, like I said, I've seen this family several times before, but it really dawned on me today after reading that stat. And this lady pulls up, rather obese lady. She's one of those ladies that when you see them in the front seat, you often wonder like how they get in the front seat, right? Like there's enough extra where it's like, dude, it's like an airplane, the dude on the airplane or the woman on the airplane that takes up more than one seat, right? It's sad, but you got to do something about it, right? And I don't know if she's actively working on it. I don't know what she's doing in her life. All I know is that she has 2 children, 2 boys. One looks to be a little bit older than the other. Both of them are, one of them is significantly overweight. The other one is clearly obese. I mean, when I say get out of the car, these guys, for lack of a better description, they basically fall out of the car, dude. Like, you could tell that getting out of their booster seat is a bit of a struggle. And so I see them get out of the car, almost tumble out of the car, if you will. And they're always running late, right? It's a little weird that there's some lack of time management here. There's some a little disorganization going on here. And they always are running in, right? Like, and when I say run, dude, you know, this is an obese kid. He's doing his best to get to class on time. And this is no knock on the kids at all. 100% not their fault. These kids are second, third, fourth graders, right? They're in an elementary school, for crying out loud. None of it is their fault. All right.
Right.
They are simply an extension of what they're being taught at home. Okay. So I see obese mom that can barely fit in the car.
And not even just taught at home, exposed to.
Exposed.
Yes.
Being shown, right? Being led down this path of life. Okay. So I added the disorganization piece on there because one thing that I've been working on a lot lately is my punctuality. As an only child, I for a while I had this you know, me, it's all about me mentality growing up. And so it was always on Jason's time, right? My head would be in the clouds. I'd procrastinate, do a lot of these things because I didn't really give a shit. I didn't have respect for other people's time. Well, over the years, obviously that's changed quite a bit. And so for me, I'm making sure that my son is not having to run into school. I don't want him to have to jog when the principal's out there saying, all right, guys, it's almost 7:40. You got to get to class. I don't like my son being part of that crew. I want him in the door before that happens. All right. Point of the story was these kids already look miserable, dude. And they're not even 8, 9, 10 years old yet. They look like it's a struggle to just jog to class, to just jog to get into the school. And again, the disorganization, the mismanagement, it all goes along with it, right? If you're not organized, and you often say this, Zach, that your physical fitness is simply an extension of your mental fortitude, right? Physical fitness is literally just a secondary result of your habits. If you have good, healthy habits, you're not going to be overweight or obese. If you do not, chances are, unless you've got a sky-high metabolism, you might look like shit on the inside and still be the skinny guy. Those are few and far between, right? And so my opinion is just that, and I feel like I voiced it now, is that it all starts at home, dude. Childhood obesity, if we're going to make the impact on future generations that we're capable of, not only does it start at home, it starts with dad. It starts with dad as number one, dude. If dad's not leading the way, kids aren't going down the path they need to be going down. If dad's not working on his health, if dad's not working on his marriage, if dad's not working on his relationship with his children, if dad's not working on his finances, if dad's not working on a better version of him at all times, what is that showing your kids?
Man, look, I know somebody, well, I know actually a lot of people that have kids who are a little bit overweight, right? But there's one specific person that I know of, and obviously I won't mention any names, but has a kid who was at the time was between 5 and 6, right? But the kid was 91 pounds or so.
Wow, dude.
So my wife now, back in high school, was about 92, 93 pounds in high school, but she's 4'11", right? There's no reason a 5-year-old kid should weigh 91 pounds. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because obviously we're talking about obese children, right? But I don't think people understand the psychological effects that, you know, these kids, that are not effects, but like the psych issues that they deal with, because we all know that as kids, they have no filter. As kids, they think bullying is just funny.
Kids are mean, dude.
They are mean. Kids are mean. They are brutally honest. And for some of the ones that aren't honest, but are just literally making fun of you just for the sake of making fun of you, it's because they're kids, right? They're not taught any better, right? Because it starts at home. It starts at home. It's a whole nother discussion, but we won't talk about that. But kids are mean. Bottom line is kids are mean.
Yes.
If you yourself are a dad, you yourself are overweight, you have low confidence, you have a low libido, you have low energy, you have low everything. You are weak, you are frail, you whatever the heck, however you describe yourself or how you feel because of the way that you look and the way you perceive yourself. Think about how much more your kid is feeling that because you have kids that are making fun of them all the time. Now, I brought up that kid specifically because this 5-year-old kid had so much self-esteem issues that she would eat food to feel better. Now, I know a lot of adults who
Eat food
dealt
to
with
feel better.
traumatic injuries. Yes, they've dealt with traumatic injuries, not traumatic injuries, but traumatic experiences that made them, well, they didn't make them, but I got to be careful with my words, but which led them to go turn to food for comfort.
Well,
What do you think is going to happen to that kid, Jason?
well, let me
If they're
interject
already
this.
using food as in, to help them feel better at the age of 5 because they're super self-conscious because they're getting made fun of, what the hell do you think is going to happen based on that trajectory in her life when she's 20, 30, 40, 50 years old?
This problem simply compounds itself, and food, sugar specifically in most cases, because it's the quickest dopamine hit, food becomes the crutch. And I'm a man who has my own set of vices. I think we're 200 and geez, dude, I don't even know. Like we're 200 and something episodes into this podcast. And I know you've been around for maybe 100. I don't know,
Since
man.
like 110 or 115 or something like that.
And so, I did quite a few episodes by myself before you and I got, before we became partners. And I'll tell you, dude, all my dirt's out there. I've talked about my drug addictions. I've talked about my alcoholism. I've talked about porn on here. We've all had our vices, dude. And when you set the precedence at an early age that food is okay, it's okay to be a vice, right? This mom, her children was simply an extension of her habits, right? Your children are living your life through your actions. So when you're obese, sitting on the couch watching Netflix and eating chips and pizza and ordering DoorDash every night, what is that telling your kids? That it's okay to sit there and play video games and eat Sour Patch Kids all night because they're doing the same thing as you. If you don't see a fucking problem with it, they don't see a fucking problem with it, dude. And when that's the precedent, that's the tone you're setting at home when these kids are 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, and you let the problem continue to compound with no chance or no attempt at breaking the cycle, then the compounding effect, just like it's very real in other areas of life, it's also very real with health. And it's only going to continue to get worse, which is why 40% of kids are showing up to high school overweight or obese, dude. I will be distraught as a parent if my son ever devalues physical activity and values video games and sugar more than his apples that he eats every day and playing outside with his brother, right? I will lose it, physically lose it, because that's not the child that I'm raising. My 2-year-old, that's not the child that I'm raising. And I know that some kids end up overweight or obese and with fit parents. And if that's my child's destiny, I'll be damned if I don't do everything in my power to make sure that that's not his destiny. That's my moral and ethical obligation as a father, dude.
But even for the fit parents that have kids who are overweight, right? You should know better, dude. And the reality is, for most parents who are in shape that have obese children, it's because they're those parents who are like, oh, but if I make my kid happy, it makes me happy. So I'm going to feed him a bunch of food. You know what that is, dude. You know that all that is an excuse and a weak excuse to feed your kid a bunch of shit. That's all it really is, dude. It doesn't matter if you're fit. It doesn't matter if you're obese. It doesn't matter if you have an average physique or average health, average body. It doesn't matter, dude. What we should be looking for when we create children is to help them be better than us, which in turn makes the world a better place. That's what we should do. So, but I don't know why more people don't do it, man. So going back to all these examples we've been talking about with these kids, if you're feeling like shit, but we're adults, so we don't talk the shit to your face, how do you think your kid feels when they're getting that shit thrown in their face? Who knows how often? Who knows how often, dude? And we know what bullying results into. There's a certain threshold you can't pass because once that limit gets broken, who knows what the hell these kids are going to do? So not only are they living a miserable life where they feel like everybody's just out for them, they start feeling like a victim. Once they crack and fold, dude, who knows
what are they going to do next? Right.
We're not going to get into all that, man, because it gets to a very, very controversial place in terms of violence and all that stuff that you guys know that shit has been happening in America lately. It's,
that's what bullying leads to, though.
That's what bullying leads to, though. It really is, man.
Who gets bullied the most?
Exactly.
Who gets bullied the most, right?
Exactly.
There's a few types of kids that get bullied the most. Generally speaking, obese kids fall into that category. I was 100%. Talking to my wife the other day about this because I told her the stat when I saw it last week. And I was like, honey, my graduating class was 400 people and hers was 100. And I started really trying to think about like my class, right? And I was like, dude, if I go back and really think about the 400 people that graduated in 1998 with Jason Priest, I would say about 40 people in my class were what I would consider obese. All right. There were some kids that might have been a little bit overweight, but not obese. I probably can think of about 40 kids out of 400 that were actually obese. What about you? She says, yeah, I graduated with 100 and I can think of about 10. I'm like, okay, so we're on to a trend here. About 10% of people when we graduated high school were obese, okay? 40% now are showing up to high school already obese. What are we doing here? We're not getting better as a country. We're getting worse as a country.
We're letting down the next generation.
We are
That's really what we're doing.
Future generations. The next generation, you are 100% right.
Yeah.
You are 100% right.
There's nothing else to say except for we're failing the next generation, man, to be hypersensitive to everything, to be super out of shape, unhealthy and obese with no confidence and call that acceptable. I mean, let's call it what it is, right? Like, we're not here to body shame anybody or fat shame anybody. We're not here to do that.
But why not?
Lay down the facts.
But why not? Let me ask you that. That's my rebuttal here. Was the term politically correct the worst thing that ever happened to our country? Because I believe it's one of the worst things that's ever happened to our country.
Yeah.
When we got away from shaming people and we went to all inclusive, we want everybody to get a fucking participation trophy. We want everybody to feel comfortable in their own skin. And now we're putting obese women on Victoria's Secret catalogs. This ain't it, dude. So So is fat shaming really that bad? Or do some people need to hear the tough love that gets their shit together?
That's the point I was going to make. So we're not here to fat shame per se, but we're here to lay down the objective truths and fact of the matter. So call it what you want, but most people who spit the objective truth, such as you and I, will be called fat shamers, is what I was trying to get at, right? So we're not fat shaming per se, but we're telling you the objective truths. And if you can't handle it because you don't want to hear that because we should accept you for being 400 pounds, then we're all of a sudden fat shamers, when that's not really the case. All it is we have your best interests in mind, whether you believe so or not.
We believe in you more than you believe in you, and we're total strangers. But that's your character and my character, and the way that we carry ourselves within our community. Because we have more belief than any prospect we ever speak to.
Yeah, people who speak with us know that we say these things because we care and we know that they're capable of doing such, right? It's just the random people in society, and that's why the culture of America is going such in a weird direction. It's because people who don't know what we're about and what we're trying to achieve and accomplish here will just call us fat shamers. They're going to call us all those terms, all those words that's been thrown out lately.
Mm-hmm. You want to cancel me. You want to cancel me because I made you feel bad about being do all that stuff 400 pounds.
All of a sudden, we're like, hey, man, you're capable of more. You can be a healthy weight. You can live a life on fire. You can increase your confidence, your libido, your quality of sleep. You could get off that CPAP, off those 7 medications. You could lead by example for your children. You can inspire and motivate all your friends and family and colleagues. You can do great things in life, and we know that you can because we've done it and we've helped many men do it too. Why don't you believe in you? And it's funny because we say that, and doesn't that sound like a
genuine thing to say? Because
doesn't that sound like I give a shit? Yet other people are going to be like, you're a fat shamer because you don't accept them for being 400 pounds.
No, you know what? I don't.
Of course, I don't.
They also shouldn't accept
because I want you to be better.
Yeah.
I want you to be better.
We know what's waiting for you on the other side. That's it. Right. I know how much better your life can be and how much better you will feel and how much more drive for success you will have and how much drive to inspire others you will have on the other side. And that's it. Like, that's the reality of it. And so I feel like a big part of this problem, and I'll continue to pound the table on this, is that there are a lot of dads out there who they embrace their role as provider, and that's where it stops. Right. It's this mentality
you're talking about financial provider, right?
Yeah. Like as long as I make sure that bills are paid, roofs over the head, I'm doing my job as a dad.
Right.
Well, you know what? You might be doing your job as a dad. You're not doing your job as a father, a true
No, they're
father
doing their job
figure.
as a financial provider, but not a father.
That's
There's
it.
a big
You're not
difference.
leading by example. And here's the thing, okay? A father is more than just a provider. He's someone who fosters core values in his family. He's someone who teaches his kids not to be afraid to speak their minds and to challenge societal norms, right? He's someone who always has his family in the back of his mind and takes pride in leading the way. He's someone who recognizes the need to make himself and his health a top priority so his family always gets his best. A father's life is often hectic, and he rises up to the challenge every single time. That right there epitomizes your role as a father. That right there, in that short description I just gave you, will reverse the obesity epidemic. But it all starts at home, dude. It all starts with us. And here's the thing with dads and fathers, okay? You start to do that, and your obese neighbors take notice. That's how the change starts. You start to do that, and your community starts to notice. Your church starts to notice. You inspire others to feel better and take action because they want what you have, which is a better life. There's not a man listening to this show right now who's 350 or 400 pounds who can look himself in the mirror and say, I love every single bit of what I see. It's just impossible. You cannot love yourself with the full capacity that you have to love yourself if you're 400 pounds. You can't.
Oh, yeah.
It's impossible.
Or without at least a little bit of doubt in the back of your mind, right?
Yes.
I could be doing better. I could be doing better. And you know what? You should be doing better. You should strive 100%. To be the best you can be because we have many things in life, but all we have one of is our life, is our body, and is the opportunity to live it to the best we can.
So
why not? Dude. Not only do we have to do it for ourselves, we say it all the damn time, dude, but not only do we have to do it for ourselves, but because like this episode, we have to do it because our kids need it. We are failing our kids as a culture, culturally, as a society, and we need to do better. And in order to do better by them, we need to do better by us. So work on your damn self, get better, and lead the way for this next generation, man, because we got to whip these guys into shape, man. I used that quote. What was that one quote that I said when we had that podcast interview a few weeks back about the whole like strong men create weak times and all that stuff like that, right?
That's
we're
common,
in that
common quote, yeah.
We're there nowadays, especially because we're in the state of in the current state, where strong men create hard times. That's what it really was. We're getting to that hard times thing, man, because culture is starting to get, our society is starting to get a little bit soft, man, and accepting all these things that shouldn't be accepted. If we're being completely honest, man.
Society is fucking soft, dude. It's soft. And I'm not, this is an awesome episode. It pains me, dude. It pains me at my core when I see 8-year-olds who are over 100 pounds, dude. Like I cannot fathom.
It's not just 100 pounds they're dealing with. Dude.
Overweight.
Imagine the weight that they're dealing with in terms of the mental burden because of all the bullying, getting picked on, and all that stuff like that. You want to talk about mental health?
You're a fat kid, right?
That's it, dude. You're always going to be known as the fat, funny kid. And if you're not funny, then what do you have? You're just the fat kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But you don't want to be a stereotypical fat, funny kid, dude. Let's raise our children right. Let them be healthy so they could thrive and be confident, dude.
Dude, no, man. I got nothing else to add. I feel like the last thing I'll say is this, man. Like, what values are you fostering into your children as a father? What are you showing them, not what are you telling them? Okay. Yeah. Your job, your duty, your moral and ethical obligation as a father is to lead by example. That's it. That's your only option. If you're not doing that right now, it's time to take action and start doing that. And if you need help, go into the show notes, click on the links, go to fitfatheraccelerator.com. Come join us over there. Go to thefatherhoodexperience.com. Come book a call with our team. Let's talk about getting you to a place where you could and should be so that your children can live their best lives. Today's Momentum Monday, guys. Get out there, take action, make moves, go get better this week. We'll see you next week.